what's going on in the crypto market today and what's happening with Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, and all of the stuff that we love to trade in the crypto simulation. Let's find out. This is Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snake, and this is not financial advice. Bitcoin on the weekly time frame breached its one fib on election day and has been running up ever since. So the next fib level that I'm looking at is the 1.272 at about 103.5k. Yes, we've gotten some resistance today. We've fallen a little bit from hitting 93k earlier in the week. It's certainly nothing to sneeze at. I mean, or nothing to get worried about. If you look at the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Bands, you can see that we are very much in a parabolic breakout at the moment. So I don't think price is going to pull back much. This is probably one of those buy the dip opportunities. If you look at the parabolic SAR on the weekly, we're just getting started. You can see we have a nice parabolic shape forming on the underside, which is indicative of a likely longer term uptrend. Now, if I take the fibs off for a moment and we look at the moving average ribbons, let's see where we're at with that. And I'm actually going to pull up more of them than I usually do. I'm going to put the 10 and the 40 on here as well, just to get some perspective. And we can see that Bitcoin right now is gold. It already golden crossed with its 10-week HMA. It's actually riding its 10-week HMA. Very bullish. 20-week is golden crossing with the 100-week right now as we speak. So the purple is the 10, the yellow is the 20. The green is about to golden cross with a 50. So the green is the 40 and the 50 is the blue. So we got all the golden crosses starting to line up. Once all of these golden cross the 100 week HMA, when the 50 is above the 100, which should be probably within a few weeks, that's where we're going to see the most explosive parabolic price action start to take place. So I think we'll probably be parabolic through December and maybe even January as well. I'm not going to give much in the way of timeframes beyond that because it's just too far out of my reach. Taking a look at some other factors, let's go ahead and look at the Snabble RSI and to see what's going on with that. Sorry, I have a lot of indicators pulled up here. Well, you know what? Let's just leave them. So I'm going to just switch the order of these. So Snabble RSI right now has entered into the hot zone. Okay, so we're above the 80 level. This is where the most parabolic moves occur. They can occur very quickly and be over within a month or two. So I imagine we'll spend some time up here, as you see from past moves. When we were in October of 2023, we peaked out in December. So we entered this channel in November. We probably will peak out in January if history is any indication before we get some kind of cool off. I don't think that would be the end of the bull cycle in January. Oh, we should always keep an open mind. But looking at the ADX and DI, the move has just barely gotten started. So we just had a cross with the ADX over the red DI at 14.61 trend strength. Green the green directional index is really starting to move up, which is a good thing. We want to see this trend strength pick up, though, to really start to get into that parabolic phase of the market. So I don't think that the trend strength will go as high as it did in March, but I think we could see a meaningful lower high on it, potentially, like I said, around, maybe quarter one of 2025, early quarter one, we could see trend strength really start to top out. So I think the parabolic move is just getting started for Bitcoin, and it has a ways to go. Let's go ahead and flip. Let's take off the moving averages and flip to the 2-week time frame for Bitcoin and see what's going on there. So on the 2-week time frame, I want to look at that candle. I wanted to look at the RCMO, and true strength indicator, which are very similar metrics. So the RCMO has crossed green. We've talked about this for such a long time on this channel. We actually said this is most likely a bottom on the RCMO. Go back and look at my receipts for that. And we have flipped the channel green. This will probably stay green for some time. And I imagine it's going to put in some kind of macro higher or lower high. I don't think it's going to come up to this level, but somewhere I think probably in the 60 to 70 range in quarter one of next year. And I will get a little bit concerned at that point about rolling back over if that happens. Now, it is always possible that I get surprised and we do reach the top of the channel. That has never happened before, where we've hit the top of this channel twice in a row. So my base case is a lower high, which does raise the concern of a head and shoulders pattern potentially emerging on the RCMO, which could be devastating to our cycle. So this is something that we need to watch closely, especially as we head into the new year, but nothing to worry about right now. True strength indicator on the 2 week hasn't even crossed bullish yet. So we expect to see the more parabolic moves occur once this crosses bullish. And the last time it had a bullish cross was in February, March of 2023. Only flipped bearish in August, so it's coming out of that right now. So you really haven't seen much in the way of Bitcoin doing what it can do. I think hitting 100K is going to happen before the end of this year. I've been saying that for a while, yeah, for months. So that's kind of my base case with Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance is currently quite strong. It has a bullish hammer candle forming on the 2 week. And you can see that I created a topping zone for dominance between 57 and 63%. And I was fairly confident 60% will be breached, which it was. I think we may get to the top of this channel before dominance is done. I imagine Bitcoin dominance could be done by the end of the year. It is possible it seeps into the early part of next year, but I don't really think that's that likely of an outcome. What I'm not sure is if we're going to see a blow off top with dominance. Certainly on the 2 week, it looks pretty strong. This Gaussian channel looks really good. It looks a lot better than it does on the 1 week. Let's go to the weekly and you can see what I'm talking about. So on the weekly, the Gaussian channel is still concave down and opening up, widening, which is generally a sign that you've got a crash coming. But if let's take the Gaussian channel off and put on some moving averages. If we put on the moving average ribbon, and again, I like to use HMAs, not SMAs, because HMAs are less lagging. Let's kind of see where we're at in terms, and I'll put on the full ribbon, just like I did with Bitcoin. Let's really zoom in here and see what's going on with dominance. Well, we are not above the 10 anymore. Actually, we are right now. So yeah, we are on the weekly. So I did say when we hit the 50 that a bounce was likely. I did not feel that Bitcoin dominance was done. A lot of people were calling the top on dominance, and I said, it could be, but I don't think so. And so we now have a bullish engulfing candle. We'll see how this week closes. But I imagine it's probably going to close bullish for Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance put in a new high of like 61%. And I think it is likely to continue moving higher in its final, what I really think are its final stages of life. So I wouldn't give Bitcoin dominance really any more than another, excuse me, week or two. Sorry, I meant a month or two before topping out and rolling over. Now, what happens when Bitcoin dominance rolls over? If we look at past history, we can see, go back to this cycle. So Bitcoin dominance, sorry, I want to go back to the bull cycle. Let's see, so September 21, we'll go back even further. All right, so Bitcoin dominance in the last cycle topped out around 71%, which was it actually got above its 200-week HMA, which is a very strange way to stack. And it topped out there and then it moved down, but not aggressively. And it's those less aggressive moves that usher in altcoin season. So what you want from dominance is like not a very aggressive drop. You want it to just kind of like maybe come down and level out a little bit. Notice how it was a 60% level that it found some support on. And then when it bled out like this, it wasn't good for the market. That's where we entered into the summer lull. And yeah, just kind of dominance just kind of stayed down for a while. We did get a nice altcoin season even after that summer lull. So right now, dominance is actually above all of its moving averages, including the 200-week. So maybe we can take a look at some of the data. I don't really want to look at the RCMO or true strength indicator. I think I'll look at the average sentiment oscillator. Look how high it is. It's at levels, like I'll show you, that are not often seen. So this is what tells me Bitcoin dominance is probably almost done. It could be done as soon as next week. It could be done 2 months from now, but I think it is in its topping process. And so what does that mean? Well, to me, that just means that having zero altcoin exposure right now, zero Ethereum exposure, is probably risky. Okay. I mean, I don't think you have to be heavy into alts in Ethereum. I am heavy into alts, but you don't have to be. But it is worth considering, thinking about how much return on investment that Bitcoin has versus, other projects in the space. And I think that Bitcoin is certainly not going to lead the way for much longer. And, you know, Bitcoin now being at um, just under 90K, it's at 88.5. I mean, from where we're at now, it's hard to imagine Bitcoin having more than maybe like a 2 or 3x absolute best case, like if everything aligns perfectly and we make it deep into 2025 with the bull run. So there's a lot of ways to make more than a 2 or 3x in this market, I think, coming up in the next year. Almost looks like the inverse of dominance. This is ETH Bitcoin, or the performance of Ethereum against Bitcoin on the weekly. And we are deep into my red zone that I drew when I first started this channel. This is the area of horizontal resistance in the past, and so I mean, and support. So it just made sense that this would be an area between 0.03 and 0.04 where Bitcoin or ETH would bottom against Bitcoin. I think it is bottoming right now. I don't think the bottom is necessarily in, but it's close enough. Like, so if you pick up ETH at 0.035 versus like 0.032. I mean, really, is it that much better of a deal? Is it worth fighting over? I don't think so. So ETH Bitcoin had a pretty nasty rejection off its 200 week back in July, and it just kind of capitulated since then. Seems to be finding some kind of support now at 0.035, well underneath its long-term support trend line. Moving averages are just jumbled up and hard to read at the moment. So that's probably not the best way to look at it. Gaussian channel could give us an indication of what might be likely to come. So let's throw on the Gaussian channel. So Gaussian channel, harsh rejection again back in the summer, but the channel is widening. So it looks like it looks like a very dramatic bounce is probably building. I don't think that will necessarily be the bounce that takes ETH Bitcoin out of the depths, but it could be. Okay. Usually ETH Bitcoin double bottoms because you'll come up for air and then you want to kind of retest with maybe a higher low or something like that. So I would watch out for that sort of formation to occur. We could look at the probably wave trend might be an interesting one to look at for this one. Let's look at the wave trend oscillator and see kind of we've already started to print green signs of bullish divergence. So this is telling me, look, we're close enough to a bottom with ETH Bitcoin that Ethereum's probably going to run pretty soon. I think that it could run as soon as December. That is certainly possible. The latest I could see it running would be early January, but I think Ethuary will happen this coming year. I think it looks so likely when you look at this chart that ETH is due for some pretty substantial mean reversion. I think looking at the RSCMO might also be helpful. Excuse me, I'm suffering from some allergies right now for some reason. Um, I want to look at the 2-week RCMO. I like the higher time frame better. So 2-week RCMO is still red, but look at it put in a higher low. So I think ETH Bitcoin is really, really close. Let's really zoom in on this and blow it up. ETH Bitcoin, I think, is close. It's close to reversing. I don't think it's going to put in a lower low. I think it's probably going to chop around here for a little bit and I think blast through probably near the end of the year, if I had to guess. So it's like, okay, if you know that and you are just like Bitcoin heavy to the max, like your Bitcoin maxi, you're probably going to miss out. You're going to be chasing green candles. Now, you can always wait for confirmation, a breakout confirmation. But to me, in my own trading philosophy, if I had a lot of Bitcoin, which I don't, I did at one point, but I don't now, I would probably be converting it around here. I mean, I would probably get fairly aggressive with my conversion. That's my own trading style. I think it's wise to hold on to some of it, but of course that just depends on your risk, your overall risk tolerance. I mean, what is your overall risk tolerance, and kind of go from there. So ETH Bitcoin looks like it's kind of ready to make some moves pretty soon. This is a chart I haven't looked at in months, and my red zone is from many months ago. I drew this many months ago. Look how close we are to it. My red zones have all been hit, like every single one. I think this one will likely get hit too. So what are we looking at here? We are looking at total 3, which is the entire altcoin market, including the top 10 altcoins. Again, I haven't really focused on these, but I'm going to start focusing on them now because the crypto money ball will likely make its way to the top 20 alts. It's already kind of started. I mean, look at Dogecoin. Look at what happened with Cardano. Even Polkadot got a nice bounce recently. Polkadot. So after putting in a very bearish formation up here, this distribution phase, altcoins against Bitcoin just really cratered. Let's take a look on the weekly at some moving averages. It's where my preference to look at the moving averages is. The Gaussian channel on the weekly looks kind of good, right? So it's a red Gaussian. It is starting to reverse and widen. So this tells me a bounce is likely coming, probably around the same time ETH Bitcoin bounces, honestly. So I think it's not that far away. It is possible we touch this red zone. Now, I could have maybe extended this red zone a little bit, but I didn't. So it'd be kind of funny if I missed this one. I wouldn't complain. I won't complain at all if that happens. Looking at some moving averages, let's see where we're at. So the 200 week is dead in the red zone. It is right in the red zone. But price hasn't gotten down there yet. Right now, the 100 week is acting as resistance, not as support. We're fighting to get above the 20 week. That's not happening, but we're trying to fight up the 50 week. That's not happening. Yeah, Bitcoin dominance is pretty much sucking the liquidity out of altcoins, especially against Bitcoin, which is really all you should care about. Satoshi value of my portfolio is horrible right now. So if yours is too, this is why. We need some kind of like reversal here. It looks like more bleeding likely to come for the altcoin market against Bitcoin. For how long? Probably as long as Bitcoin dominance is elevated. And I told you it could be another 1 or 2, maybe 2 months maximum. But I think by late December, early January, some of these things should be pretty clearly bottoming. But don't be surprised if there's a double bottom or something that comes up with this as well. What's happened in the past with Total 3 versus Bitcoin when it's been in a bottoming pattern? Well, not great things, right? So, and this was late 2020 before the altcoin ran. Look what happened. Like end of the year, that's when altcoins bottomed, and I think something similar could play out this time. And now here was a V-shaped recovery, but overall like a double bottom formation. So we could see a final dump by altcoins against Bitcoin at the end of the year, and it could be pretty nasty. I mean, we could put in a lower low, and I think that's actually quite likely to happen. So let's take a look and see if we can get confluence on things like the RCMO for this particular metric, which maybe we can. Let's see RCMO. Excuse me with my allergies. Just need to take my allergy meds today. Well, this is interesting. So the RCMO actually doesn't look that bad. In fact, it's putting in higher highs or higher lows since the summer of 2023, which was a brutal, brutal time for alts. So we have an inverse head and shoulders sort of here. Are we about to break this? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen right away. I think we're going to come down a little bit, but I don't think we'll come down this low. Again, this is price momentum. So we don't have to come down this low to put in a lower low for Total 3 minus stables divided by Bitcoin. We can come down just a little bit and then rock it off. And I think that's a likely outcome. I do. If you look back to late 2020, that is exactly what happened. It was a different formation. We came down and we put in a macro higher low and blasted off. Altcoin season didn't really last that long. It doesn't, right? But overall, what could you say about 2021? It was an altcoin year. 2019 and 2020 weren't. So I think look at does 2024 look like an altcoin year? It doesn't. It was not. Late 2023 had a little, higher low on the altcoin season index, as we saw not higher low, but higher low. It put in an unimpressive high on the altcoin season index if you were to go look at that. But like yeah, I think a trend reversal is taking place, but it's not obvious yet. That's why I like to look at RCMO. It kind of tells me what's coming. So I think some kind of bottoming, it could be a nasty capitulation into the red zone and then probably a violent bounce out is possible. Is it probable that we play out exactly the same as 2020 going into 2021? I don't know if it would be that violent, but I think we're definitely going to see some kind of bounce coming at the end of the year, more likely early next year. I've always said on my channel, 2024 is not an altcoin year, but 2025 very likely will be. So, I mean, what's the best way to play this part of the cycle when altcoins are clearly bleeding back to Bitcoin by and large? I mean, there's always going to be a few that outperform it, and Bitcoin dominance is in its final topping stages, ETH Bitcoin in its final bottoming stages. What does that tell you about your portfolio construction? Well, again, I can't give you financial advice. I can only tell you what I'm doing. And what I'm doing may not be the right move for you. So I have been altcoin heavy for pretty much the entire year. That has worked out for me sometimes and not worked out for me other times. Honestly, I think it was a mistake. I got rid of my Bitcoin a little bit too early in late 2023, and that happened based on a mistake that I made. It was a very huge mistake, trying to time a so-called secondary scare because I was paying attention more to what someone else was saying than my own intuition, and that cost me dearly. And I had to play catch up, and I made some moves that some of which worked out and some of which didn't. So I've been playing fast and loose pretty much ever since late 2023, which really goes against my investing style, but I've kind of adapted to it at this point. Um, so from a risk management point of view, my portfolio right now is suffering greatly with this um, altcoin Bitcoin bleeding, and some altcoin USD bleeding along with it. Bitcoin is just sucking the liquidity out of the market. Now there are some altcoins like Sui, base Pepe, Pepe, ETH Pepe, um, Peanut, Dogecoin that have been doing very well. So don't let me fool you into thinking that only Bitcoin is doing well. Bitcoin dominance is at 61% roughly. That means 39% is not in Bitcoin, right? So there are things that are running. And I think as you build your portfolio heading into 2025, you have to ask yourself, what is your risk tolerance? If your risk tolerance is low, then I think it makes sense to hold on to a majority Bitcoin position and start to slowly rotate out into ETH right now while ETH Bitcoin is bottoming, and be okay with the fact that you're probably going to mistime it just a little bit, but you're close enough that you're because like I said, Bitcoin probably doesn't have any more than a 3x left in it from where we're at now. In the best possible situation, maybe slightly more than a 3x. Okay. But I don't think so. I think it's going to be between a 2 and a 3x for Bitcoin. Ethereum, I don't know what Ethereum's at right now. I mean, I guess I could go look. Let me go look it up. I'm not going to put it up on the screen for you, but so ETH is at $3,126. So I think for ETH, potentially a 5 to 6x could be in the cards. Best possible situation would be just under a 7x. So let's just say between a 5 and a 7x, which is double the ROI of Bitcoin, still relatively low risk. Solana, um, I think, where's Solana at? Let's go look at that one. Solana is kind of like the ETH of this cycle. Um, so I'm looking at Solana again. You're not seeing my screen because I don't want to go back to it right now. Solana's at about $214. I think for Solana, it's already made quite a move off of its low of $7. So I have a hard time seeing Solana do more than maybe a 4x from here. So I don't know. ETH may actually outperform Solana in next year. That's one to watch. Kind of an iffy one there. Yeah, so I think like if you're very conservative and you're not a risk taker, then you'd probably hold on as next year approaches to like maybe 60% Bitcoin and start to build up to like, you know, 30-40% ETH. If you're higher on the risk curve like me, I'm like maxed out on the risk curve. I love micro caps, which is probably gonna be my downfall, honestly. But the money ball should rotate nearly everywhere next year. Um, if you are a high risk investor, which I became this year, kind of somewhat unwillingly after a huge mistake that I made in 2023, but now I've got just embraced it and gotten used to it. I think it starts to make sense if you haven't already been accumulating altcoins. We were accumulating altcoins in the summer on my channel, and that's worked out great for some people. Honestly, we've been accumulating since I started my channel, and we've come up with some great picks like Aerodrome. I did the first video ever on Aerodrome when it was 7 cents, and I've done the first video on many altcoins. If you look through my archives, you can see we've made some great gains on my channel. Um, but like I think right now you're looking at kind of what I would refer to as the final altcoin accumulation. Just like I would say this is sort of like the last call for ETH, in the next month or two. It's probably the last call for a lot of altcoins before they blast off in the new year. And I think that is very likely to happen. So, a less conservative portfolio would probably try to move towards 30 to 50% Bitcoin, 10 to 20% ETH and the rest alts or something like that. That's an idea. I can't tell you how to manage your portfolio. I can't give you financial advice legally, and I wouldn't even if I could because it's just too risky. You have to manage your own portfolio, but hopefully those perspectives help you a little bit in how to navigate the market at this time and what is likely to come next. Again, the market is just a probability machine, so nothing is ever guaranteed. So that being said, of course, I wish you the best in your crypto trading. I hope you are profitable. My philosophy is that I want to personally make my money off the markets and not off my subscribers. So I'm going to keep my channel and my Telegram group completely free throughout the rest of the bull run. I can't promise you that that will be the case after the bull run, but to take advantage of that, just join my Telegram channel now while it is still free. We have almost 300 people there, and these are some smart people that share all kinds of different perspectives on their portfolios. They share altcoin alpha as soon as it becomes available, and they're very kind and respectful. So you won't find any drama in that group. It's a great group. Link is in my video description if you want to join. Also, I would encourage you if you're new to crypto simulation theory, welcome. This is a channel that is focused purely on data analysis, and we try to keep emotions out. So I have a background in mathematics, and I bring that mindset with me. I also have a background in psychology as well. So the two kind of combine, and I'm able to analyze the market analytically, but also kind of think about the psychology as well. So if you enjoy those kind of presentations, you'll really like this channel, and I encourage you to subscribe. If you like the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up, share, hit notifications for future videos, comment on any thoughts about my market update, or if there's any kind of things you want me to analyze, let me know. It's always more helpful to get feedback from you guys about what kind of videos you want, because I'm really doing this channel for you. And yeah, so let's enjoy the rest of the year. I think it's going to be a great time for Bitcoin. I think some of the more exciting plays will happen next year in terms of altcoins, but you're seeing signs of life in the altcoin market as alts try to sort of find their bottom against Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has the last hurrah this year. See you guys next time. Bye.